For decades, the same 5 or 6 names have dominated every cookware conversation. The brands with the biggest shelf space at the department store. The ones with the celebrity partnerships and the 30-second television spots and the gift registry dominance that makes them feel like the only options that exist. If you have ever stood in a kitchen store trying to make sense of the wall of pans in front of you, you have almost certainly reached for one of those names by instinct. And for most people, that instinct never gets questioned. But professional cooks operate in a completely different world. Not because they have unlimited budgets or access to secret suppliers, though sometimes both are true. Because they have cooked on enough equipment, destroyed enough pans, and learned through genuine repetition what actually performs under sustained heat and daily abuse. And what they reach for in their own kitchens, the pans they buy with their own money for their own homes, almost never comes from the brands filling those department store shelves. There is a list of cookware manufacturers that almost nobody outside of professional kitchens knows by name. These are not boutique vanity products or influencer-driven launches. Most of them have been making the same pans, using the same methods for 50 to 100 years. They have simply never needed to advertise because the people who matter most have always known where to find them. The question worth asking is why the gap exists at all. Why would the professionals who understand cookware better than anyone consistently choose brands that the general public has never encountered? The answer is not what the cookware industry wants you to think. To understand the gap, you have to start with how cookware actually gets made versus how it gets sold. The manufacturing side of the cookware industry is surprisingly consolidated. A relatively small number of foundries and factories produce the raw material that eventually gets stamped with dozens of different brand names. The same grade of stainless steel, the same core thickness, the same cladding process can end up inside a pan sold at a significant markup under a well-known consumer brand, and inside a pan sold at a fraction of that price under a name nobody recognizes at a restaurant supply house. The consumer market runs on perception, packaging, and the kind of lifestyle marketing that makes a pan feel like an aspiration rather than a tool. The professional market runs on performance, consistency, and durability measured in years of daily service. When you buy for feel, you pay for the feeling. When you buy for function, you pay for the function. These are different transactions. The first brand on this list has been supplying commercial kitchens in France since the 1830s. The pans are made from carbon steel, using a stamping process that has changed very little in the better part of 2 centuries. Carbon steel heats faster than cast iron, develops a natural non-stick seasoning over time, and weighs significantly less while offering similar heat retention. Professional line cooks love it because a well-seasoned carbon steel pan is faster to respond than cast iron and more durable than any synthetic non-stick surface ever made. The brand charges a fraction of what a comparable consumer brand charges for a coated aluminum pan that will need replacing in 3 years. The second name is a Japanese manufacturer that has been producing stainless steel cookware for restaurant kitchens across Asia and Europe since the 1960s. Their tri-ply construction, which bonds aluminum between 2 layers of stainless steel for even heat distribution, meets or exceeds the specifications of consumer brands that charge 3 times the price. Professional pastry chefs use these for sugar work and sauce reduction because the pan's response to temperature change is precise and predictable. The consumer market has simply never been introduced to them because nobody has spent the money to make that introduction happen. This pattern repeats across every category of cookware. Cast iron foundries operating in the American Midwest since the early 20th century, supplying restaurants with pans that outlast the chefs who use them. Copper-lined manufacturers in Portugal and Spain producing material that Michelin-starred kitchens specify by name, while the general public buys a copper-toned exterior coating from a brand that spent its budget on advertising instead of metallurgy. The reasons these brands remain obscure are structural, not accidental. Restaurant supply distributors have no incentive to market to home consumers. The brands themselves have no marketing infrastructure. And the products, by design, look utilitarian rather than beautiful. A carbon steel pan arrives without packaging. It has no silicone handle grip and 4 color options. It does not photograph particularly well for a social media post. It looks, honestly, like something that belongs in a professional kitchen rather than a curated home. That is precisely the point. And that utilitarian honesty is exactly what the consumer cookware industry has spent decades training buyers to overlook. The trade-offs are real, and this is where the cookware industry's suppressed story gets genuinely interesting. Professional-grade cookware is not better in every way for every person. It is better in the ways that matter for cooking, and sometimes more demanding in the ways that matter for ownership. Carbon steel requires seasoning and maintenance that synthetic non-stick surfaces do not. It will rust if stored wet. It will strip its seasoning if washed with dish soap. The first few uses require patience while the cooking surface develops its protective layer. Most home cooks, accustomed to the frictionless convenience of coated aluminum, find the learning curve real. The cookware industry knows this and has built its entire consumer marketing strategy around the concept of effortless cooking. Non-stick coatings, dishwasher-safe claims, induction compatibility guaranteed, oven-safe to 400 degrees printed in large type on the box. These are genuine conveniences. Nobody is pretending otherwise, but convenience and performance are not the same thing. A coated non-stick surface starts degrading from the first high heat use. The coating is incompatible with metal utensils, high oven temperatures, and the kind of aggressive heat that actually develops a proper sear on a piece of protein. Professional cooks do not use these surfaces for serious cooking because serious cooking destroys them. They use carbon steel, stainless copper, and cast iron because these materials perform better under the conditions that actually produce good food. The second trade-off is weight. Commercial cast iron and carbon steel pans are heavy by design. Mass means heat retention. Heat retention means consistent cooking surface temperature when cold protein hits the pan. A lightweight aluminum pan drops temperature immediately when something cold is placed in it, which is why home searing often produces grey, steamed meat rather than a proper crust. The heavy pan holds its heat through that thermal shock, but the weight is real. An 11-inch commercial carbon steel pan weighs significantly more than a coated consumer alternative of the same diameter. For a line cook doing it 300 times a service, the arm builds to accommodate it. For a home cook using it 3 times a week, the adjustment takes time. Then there is the price question, and this is where the honest answer surprises most people. Professional-grade cookware from the brands nobody has heard of is almost always cheaper than the premium consumer brands it outperforms. This seems counterintuitive until you understand where the consumer markup actually goes. It does not go into material quality, it goes into the endorsement deal, the retail placement fee, the packaging design, the return policy infrastructure, and the lifestyle photography. Strip all of that away, and you are often left with a pan that costs less to make than the professional alternative and performs worse under actual cooking conditions. The home cook paying a premium for a recognized name is frequently paying for everything except the pan. Here is the honest verdict, and it sits in a place neither the cookware marketing industry nor the professional kitchen absolutists particularly want to acknowledge. For most home cooks cooking most meals under most circumstances, the professional-grade brands on this list will meaningfully improve the quality of what comes out of their kitchen. Not because of any mystical property of restaurant equipment, because the materials are better suited to the actual physics of cooking than the materials optimized for shelf appeal and marketing convenience. At the same time, buying professional carbon steel and then washing it in the dishwasher is not better than buying a quality consumer pan and using it correctly. The equipment only performs if the cook understands what they bought and why. The learning curve for carbon steel is real. The maintenance for copper is real. The weight of commercial cast iron is real. These are not deal breakers for anyone willing to treat cookware as a skill rather than a convenience product. But they are genuine considerations that deserve honest treatment rather than being glossed over in the name of making a sale. The brands worth knowing about are the ones that have survived without marketing budgets by being impossible to stop recommending once someone has cooked on them seriously. French carbon steel makers operating since before most consumer cookware brands existed. Japanese stainless manufacturers supplying the restaurants that people save up to visit. American foundries making cast iron that will still be in service when everything currently sold at a department store has been thrown away twice. The gap between what professionals use and what the general public buys has never been about access or price. It has always been about information. The information exists. It has just never been in anyone's commercial interest to put it in front of you. If you are buying cookware in the next year, spend 30 minutes in a restaurant supply store before you spend 30 seconds on a consumer retail website. You will find the same pans the professionals use at lower prices with no marketing to convince you they are anything other than what they are. That is a rarer thing in a kitchen store than it should be, and it is exactly where the best cooking in the world quietly begins.